Hello everyone. So in this video we're going to talk about job hunting in the midst of a crisis. And where we're at right now, I thought this would be a really relevant topic. Because, when something happens, as we're kind of in the midst of right now, it kind of brings the business world to a grinding halt. And that's what we've seen going on at the moment. But we still have to kind of do our thing, right? Like, we still have personal needs. We need to provide for ourselves. We need to provide for our families. But the job application process and hunting for a job becomes more difficult in the midst of this kind of crisis. So the question then on everybody's mind as we approach something like this becomes, well, what do you do? Right? Like, that's the question. And in light of recent events, again, this becomes important to discuss. So if you're looking for a job, but the rest of the country or the rest of the world is in the grips of a crisis, what do you do? You still have to provide, but what do? You have to be able to do something. You have to be able to take advantage of your situation. So that's really what this video is going to be about. This video is going to be about how we can take advantage of our situation, even in the midst of a crisis like we're experiencing at the moment, in order to kind of help us out in our job search. So in answering the question of what do you do, that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on how we take advantage of this sort of crisis. So the first thing that we can do is, well, we can build our skills. If there's one thing that people have a lot of right now, it's time, right? Like, a lot of people are quarantined. A lot of people are stuck in their homes. There are a lot of towns and counties and entire states that have shelter-in-place orders where people, can't really leave their homes unless for, certain qualifications. So you're kind of stuck inside. Because you're stuck inside, you have this opportunity to study. Take your skills, take the things that you're good at, the things that you want to be able to do as a job, and work on them, improve them, make them better. Work on personal projects in the context of building a portfolio. Working on personal projects are one of the great things that you can do. Take these skills that you've learned, that you've built, and demonstrate them via a personal project. Build something really cool that people can look at and say, wow, this person's really talented. They would bring a lot to my organization. Or even take available online classes. One of the things that a lot of online class companies have done during this time is that they've made available a lot of free classes. So in addition to building your old skills, you could take available online classes and create new skills. And that just makes you an even more valuable employee. You're bringing even more to the table at that point. So you're taking a negative and turning it into a positive in this case. Like, even though you're stuck inside, you can take this opportunity to build your skills, create new skills, make personal projects that are going to help bolster your portfolio and improve your marketability in the job market. Another thing that you can do is utilize social media. Get comfortable networking online and start building your personal brand if you haven't already. There are a lot of connections to be made out there on Facebook and LinkedIn and other social networking sites that could provide paths for jobs down the road. And these are connections that you don't even have to leave your house to make. These are connections that you can social distance and still make safely. In fact, we should all really be utilizing social media to these ends anyway. So this is a good time to go ahead and practice taking advantage of social media and utilizing social media to its fullest intent. Since this is kind of being forced on us, it's a good practice to take on. This is kind of where we get to that sort of hidden job market thing. There are a lot of our family, a lot of our friends on Facebook and LinkedIn. A lot of jobs come from referrals, and referrals come from connections. So you have family and friends that can introduce you to other people or have mutual connections with other people that might be at businesses that you want to work at. You can make connections with them and you can start the conversation. These are things that you can be doing and should be doing already, even without a crisis to force your hand into doing these things. So that's kind of an important and good thing that you can be doing during this time. Another thing is that you can be doing your research. Maybe you're not sure which company would be right for you. Now's a great time to gather up information, gather up some intelligence about different companies. Come up with a list of companies that you think you'd like to work for. That's a good start to doing your research. Just sit down, come up with a list of companies that you think you would like to work for. And then get on their websites, get on their social media, their Facebook pages, their Instagram pages, their Twitter pages, their YouTube pages, and find out everything you can about this company. Because believe it or not, you can find out a lot about a company from their Facebook. You can start to get an image of what this company's culture looks like. You can see the employees that work at that company. You can start to get an image of what morale looks like at that company and what they do for team building. Because a lot of times they'll, post pictures of team building exercises and morale days and things that they do for the employees on their social media sites. Like maybe on Facebook they'll, post an album of photos of their employee picnic. And you can see what the employee picnic was like, and you can see all the employees that were there. And this is a good way to help determine whether or not you'd fit in with the culture of that company. Whether you think that that would be a good fit for you or not. And then from there, you can take that list of companies and you can start branching out, researching other companies that are related to that company. And this is where you can get really good information. Because a lot of these companies that are related to these other companies, well, you might not even know they exist. And some of these companies that you don't even know exist might be the perfect company for you. So it really takes some research to find out, okay, like let me start out by thinking about the companies that I really want to work for, and then let me figure out whether or not I really want to work for them, and let me branch out and see if there are any related companies, and let me see what they're like. Because who knows, maybe one of those companies that you've never even heard of is your dream job. And you just don't know it. You never know what you'll find when you do your research like this. And, now we have a lot of time to take advantage of and conduct this sort of research. So doing our research is a great way to kind of take advantage of that. Another thing that we can do is we can stay connected. Now, for the first 2/3 of this video here, we didn't really talk about it, right? But now I think it's time that we really need to kind of face facts, right? The likelihood that anyone is really hiring right now is low. We have to come to the understanding that, there are a lot of companies out there, they've shut down, they've either sent employees home to telework, or they've furloughed employees, or they've temporarily laid off employees. So the fact that a lot of these companies would be hiring new employees probably isn't going to happen. But it is a good time to get in contact with a hiring manager and kind of put your name in their mind. Tell them what you can do for them. Kind of, send them your resume and just let them know that you exist, and let them know that you're out there, and just kind of check in with them from time to time. Because the truth is that there will come a point when everything will kind of end. We'll have a return to normalcy. Now, even though we're not sure, right, at this point in time of where we're at, when this return to normalcy will be, at one point this return to normalcy will happen. And when that return to normalcy does happen and the crisis ends, if you kept in good contact, if you, essentially made friends with the hiring manager, then when it comes time to hire, you're in a good position. Your resume is on the top of the stack. It's more likely that you are going to get that call to go out there, get that job, get that interview, get into that company. While we're not in a great space right now, and we can readily admit that, we can hope, and that's one thing that we kind of have to do is, we even with all the anxieties and all of the trepidations, we can't let all of these kind of cloud a hope for the future. Right? Because eventually there will be a return to normalcy. Eventually there will be a comeback. And in that case, you want to be first in line for the interview, to be hired, or what have you. Which is really why, and what I think is most important here, is that you don't stop. Keep applying. Who knows, you might even get called for an interview, and they might want to do an interview with you online. Interview online if you have to. They might want to use some kind of teleconferencing software to interview you. Interview online if you have to. At the very least there, it'll get you accustomed to interviewing online. And there are some jobs out there that, do that for every position, regardless of situation. So that's an option. Don't let your anxiety, don't let your fear stop your momentum. Because when you've built up your momentum in your job search, one of the worst things that you can do is bring that to a screeching halt. You still have to, because then you have to ramp it back up from a dead stop, and that's not what we want to do. Remember that, this too shall pass. Again, even though we don't know at what point in the future a return to normalcy will come, we can be relatively assured that a return to normalcy will come. And when that point in time comes, it's much better if we're there prepared, because then we are just ready to slide right back in where we wanted to be to begin with. So, yeah. A crisis can be scary. A crisis can give you anxiety. A crisis can fill you with trepidation. But this is a point where we have the option to look at opportunity. And that is what I am encouraging you to do. So that's all that I have for you for this video. Thank you for watching.